Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Right on time as usual. What's up, y'all?
Hello, hello.
Hey, Digger. Um, so yeah, tonight, I don't know how to pronounce that, but Rosh Hashanah?
Not quite.
No.
Roshaniah
Okay.
or Roshaniah, depending on, yeah.
Okay. I'll take your
So,
word for it.
yeah, this is an interesting one. It's a secret society that for a very long time, it would its own existence was denied. Like it was made up, like King Arthur and Knights of the Round Table, a myth.
Okay.
And William Cooper was one of the first people to start talking about this, to make it public consumption. And it's gotten to the point now where I was just told that the National Geographic is talking about it and giving its historical background, but they're talking about it as if it was an old and long dead secret society.
Okay.
Like, yeah, very, very old and very long ago, and never, it's we don't see anything about it these days. But as you'll hear from Bill, it's not quite the case.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Also, a couple things to talk about today. So I'll let you talk about Saturday.
Okay. Yeah. If you guys don't know, it's only because I don't really know how to spread the word on stuff. But check the discords. Check my ex. We are holding this Saturday. We are having a 10-hour live stream. 10 hours, folks. So I need you to be there. I need you to have all sorts of wonderful comments to make so that we can keep you guys entertained for the full 10 hours. The
Mhm.
whole point of this is for our friend Fiery Red. Um, most of you probably know by now he's ill, and it's terminal. And it really, really sucks. And I'm going to miss him quite a bit. Um, but what we can do right now as a community, as a family, is we can get together on Saturday. We can donate a little or donate a lot. Donate a prayer if that's all you can afford to give, and make sure you turn up, uh, so that we can hang out and chat and show Fiery just how important he is to our group, and how much we're going to miss him when he's gone. So this way, they don't have to worry about maybe not having a roof over their heads, because finances are difficult when you're not allowed to work. Um, so yeah, please come one, come all. We will be having all sorts of fun guests, big name guests in the YouTube community. We got oh geez, we've got Ricada, we've got Vices, we've got Gosney coming in for a bit. We've got Aussie Overlord. Oh, too many to name. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we need you to come and show your love for Fiery. It starts, thank you, Linda. It's this Saturday, starts at 1:30, and that's Pacific West Coast time. Or for all you East Coasters, it starts at 4:30 p.m., and we're going 10 hours. So I am certain you guys can hop in for 5, 10 minutes and say hi to them. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and she didn't mention me, but I'll be there, you know.
Mighty will be there, of course. Sorry.
But yeah, fuck that guy. But yeah, I'll definitely show up for a little bit and hang out with Red and or for Red. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely stop by. We'll throw it
There's
in.
there's a give send go link. I have put it out in all the discords, and I have put it out on my X. I will try and find it so I can drop it in the chat here before the end of the show tonight.
Yes, please do, and then I'll pin
Okay.
it whenever you drop it. So
Perfect.
um, so yeah, should be should be a good time to just hang out
Yes.
and you know.
That's
And,
exactly it. Amazing. It's going to be an international love fest, and Fire Red is going to be the man of the hour.
mhm.
And it's not the only time zone. You Eastern Standard Times, you think you run it all, but I tell you what, there's a lot of us over here in PST.
We do. We do, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, it's all Eastern time or nothing.
Well,
Uh,
have federal elections. Our federal election is decided and over before over us here in Pacific Standard Time before our votes are even counted. It's so
it's awesome.
yeah.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
So
Well, it is what it is, and we've got the beautiful weather and landscape, so it's a trade-off that I'll take.
yeah, I could see that. So, um, but yeah, so we're looking forward to that, all that good stuff, and yeah,
Yes, please and thank you.
GMT for the win. We invented time. Uh, piss off dance. I saw your message, but we know it was too late because I'm here. So I'll get back
Yeah,
with you. I'll get back with you, buddy.
that'll
Um,
happen.
does anybody expect me to actually read messages? No,
No.
in a timely manner. That's just asking too much. Um, but yeah, so another thing I wanted to update with real quick is uh, Boeing. Boeing will not be launching till at least Friday the 10th.
I
I
saw
think it's
that.
going to be a little bit longer than that, even. But that's their hope, and we're gonna have to wait to see them kill some astronauts till the 10th. I mean,
Yeah. Hey, I want to see these older folk. They're not even that old. I listened to the stream later, my friend. They're not that old. Okay. The one has got a 10 years on me. That's it. I am right in that window. And I want to see how an older body reacts as well. Because if we're going to have space travel as a vacation destination sort of thing, we need to start testing how different kinds of bodies react to the stresses.
no, I completely agree, and I don't think I said they were that old. Did I?
Well, you made a point of the fact that they really usually use young people because they're resilient, and these guys are they're a lot older than most astronauts tend to be because
That I mean, that's just a stated fact that they are.
yeah, I might be
No,
a little bit sensitive because the guy is so close to my own age.
gotcha. Hmm.
But it is very interesting, and it's something that I am sure Elon is going to pay a lot of attention to, those statistics and everything that comes with that.
Yeah. First they got to get off the ground, and that's not a
Well,
guarantee with everybody's favorite Boeing.
yeah, and they lost another whistleblower, eh? How does that happen?
Did you see 10 of them came out? I think it was yesterday. So
Oh,
they're 10. I don't know. I mean, those are Clinton numbers. They're gonna have to really hook up with Hillary to get rid of
yeah.
10 people. Um, I think
Wow, yeah, that's a lot.
right. I think the thought was kind of the strength in numbers type deal. Like they can't
Maybe,
get us all, you know?
maybe. And if 10 come out at once, maybe others will feel brave enough to join.
Maybe, maybe. Um, it'll be interesting to watch because there's something funny going on there. So,
Yes, yes.
um, but yeah, so that's kind of what's going on right now. And other than that, we can go ahead
I'm
and
ready if
get
you are.
started. Yeah. I haven't read a single comment. I'm sorry. I'm.
That's okay. Most of them are just making fun of you. So,
I know. It's exactly what I think.
yeah, imagine training for years to be an astronaut and just to find out you're going on Boeing tech.
these these were Boeing employees for one, and for two, just briefly on that, uh, they might get ultimately screwed but saved. Um, it's going to be interesting because there's a scenario if they have to roll it back in, that they could have to change crews. So it could be a different crew. So
Oh.
they could have theoretically not even get a chance to go up. So
Oh, that would suck.
yeah, it would suck. But then if something goes wrong, you're like, oh shit, I'm glad I didn't, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. True that.
that kind of deal. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Um,
Yeah. Jeez. I can't imagine.
Liv?
And yeah, Linda's saying uh I said they'll be the age of the guys in Space Cowboys by the time they go up. Wouldn't that be a laugh too? They just decide to push through with these guys anyways, even though they're that much older and it's been
Mm-hmm.
postponed.
Well, they can only keep them in quarantine for so long. So that comes into the, like, there's protocol for how long they can actually stay up there, or
Mhm.
in there.
Yeah.
So that could come into play at some point. But
Hmm.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what transpires. So
Yeah.
hopefully, again, it's just a successful mission and everything goes well, and I don't have to worry about it. But not entirely convinced. So, but
Fair enough. I guess
but
time will tell.
with that being said, with that being said, we'll get started on this secret society program.
All right.
All right.
You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. The 16th century saw the rise of a very powerful society based upon a secret cult in the mountains of Afghanistan, the Roshaniya, or the Illuminated Ones. References to the existence of this mystical fraternity exist from the time of the House of Wisdom at Cairo several hundred years before. In fact, the Roshaniya are just a later emergence of the old cult of the Assassins. It seems likely that small branches were founded in various parts of the Near and Middle East, which would account for the special usage of the names of the 8 degrees of initiation among them. The earliest figure named in the history of the cult is one Bayezid Ansari of Afghanistan, whose family claimed descent from the Ansar, the helpers who assisted Muhammad after his flight from Mecca nearly 1400 years ago. As a reward for this service, he stated his ancestors had been granted initiation into the mysteries of the Ishmaelite religion, the secret inner training which dated from Abraham's rebuilding of the temple at Mecca, the mystical Haram, to the assassins through the Roshaniya and into Europe via the Knights Templar. Bayezid's own father, however, was known to be as narrowly conventional as anyone in the country, and one account of the rapid rise of the sect has it that Bayezid, after a period of preparation for the normal priesthood, was converted to his strange doctrine by a missionary from the Ismailis, the sectarians holding a secret doctrine supposedly handed down in the family of the prophet, who maintained hidden lodges throughout the world of Islam and also claimed after the Crusades to have penetrated with their ideas even Spain, Germany, France, and parts of Britain. However this may be, the illuminated ones soon became more than a headache for the governors of Afghanistan, the Mughal rulers of India, and their Persian neighbors. Not far from Peshawar, which is now in the northwest of Pakistan, Bayezid set up a small school where he carefully coached those who had been initiated by him in the knowledge of the supernatural that he claimed. A period of probation was expected from each candidate, during which he would go into periods of concealment or meditation, known as kilawat, or silence. During this time, he was to receive the illumination, which was emanated from the Supreme Being, who desired a class of perfect men and women to carry out the organization and direction of the world. Bayezid collected in this way, over a period of 3 years, about 50 staunch disciples whom he had trained in obedience and to whom, so we are told, he had shown a way whereby they could liberate their inner powers. Well, this meant that they were ready to follow his further instructions. These orders, according to what his opponents say, were that the whole sect would now become bandits, to prey upon the rest of the world, and all those who could not identify themselves by their secret sign were their legal and lawful prey. Little information is available from the other side, but 3 letters said to have been written from one branch to another contain in outline a plan to reshape the entire social system of the world, first taking control of individual countries one by one. And where have we heard that before? We've heard it from every one of the histories of all of these different sects of Mystery Babylon, which on the outward appearance seem to be different from each other. On the esoteric level, are one and the same religion, with one and the same plan, with one and the same goal, all working toward that end. And the end always justifies the means. Now, something does survive of the degrees of initiation. The first was Salik, or seeker, followed by Murid, disciple, Fakir, humble devotee, Arif, enlightened one, Khwaja, master, Emir, commander, Imam, priest, and Malik, chief or king. This succession does not follow the usual pattern of promotion in the Muslim mystical secret societies, the tariqas, and seems to have been specially devised for this one. In the first 3 degrees, the candidate perfected himself by repetitions of certain phrases which were believed to carry power. Examples are these: Rabba, Afrina'a, Heya, Hafida, Kwawaya. Of these words, all Arabic or Persian. The first stands for the concept of lordship, the second for creation, the third for life, the fourth for protection, and the last for absolute power. If they were repeated with deep meditation upon various forms of their manifestations in human life, it was believed the appropriate power would come into the devotee. Now, no special deity was worshipped, but it was believed that there was a supreme overall power, which was known by the sum of its individual powers, lordship, protection, and so on, a type of pantheism which works its way into the modern mystical societies of today. And that when one had meditated upon them all, and they had become the property of the invocant, he would thenceforward be a man of complete power. Now, folks, this kind of idea underlies a good deal of religious and magical thinking in many faiths, though it is seldom put in as concise a manner. The enlightened one of the 4th degree was he who could attain, during the rituals, complete identification with this overall power and was guided by it in all that he did. It was said that he could communicate directly with the unknown or hidden supervisors. Now, this meant that, apart from the guidance of the chief, he was free to suit his own pleasure in life. No theological or social bonds limited him. It is at this stage, said the illuminated, that the Arif could perform acts of wonder and magic, influence the physical world, and know the secrets of others. He attained this degree through the acceptance of him by the master, to whom he had confided his dreams and mystical ecstasies. The master alone really knew whether these were true or false experiences and promoted him accordingly. Some people proceeded to the higher degrees without going through all the lower ones, because they were helped by the spirits of former illuminates who had died. The master, emir, imam, and malik degrees were reserved for the very highest men and women initiates. After the 5th degree, the segregation of the sexes in rituals was no longer practiced. Anyone of the degree of imam and higher could start his own lodge and make his own disciples. Bayezid decided to move his headquarters into the most inaccessible mountains of Afghanistan, where he set up a large and luxurious castle, and from which he directed his military and bandit operations designed to overcome the rest of the East. His missionaries were sent far and wide, but received little official support. The cult did, however, spread among merchants and soldiers who thought that this gateway to mystical experiences was something to enter. They contributed lavishly to the chief's upkeep and his most expensive military, political, and espionage system. The heady wine of this success seems to have affected the prudence of the head illuminate more strongly than it should, for his claims became more and more extreme in public, as most usually do. There was, he now preached, no afterlife of the kind currently believed in, no reward or punishment, only a spirit state which was completely different from earthly life. The spirits, if they belonged to the order, could continue to enjoy themselves and be earthly powers, acting through living members, but that was all. The preaching of this spiritual vampirism seemed to delight his followers as much as it infuriated his enemies, because Bayezid now gave out more and more of the new doctrine based upon his no afterlife creed. Eat, drink, be merry, gain power, look after yourself. You have no allegiance except to the order, he told them, and all humanity which cannot identify itself by our secret sign is our lawful prey. The secret signal was to pass a hand over the forehead, palm inwards, the countersign to hold the ear with the fingers and support the elbow in the cupped other hand. And you can see that sign be exchanged even today in the courts of law all over the United States of America between lawyers and judges, defendants and judges, prosecutors and judges, prosecutors and defending lawyers, etc., etc., etc. Bayezid took to himself the style of Pir Aroshan, or Sage of Illumination, and founded a city at Hashnagar, which was to be the center from which Illuminism was to spread all over the world. Now, each member of his following was given a new name upon entry. Does that sound familiar? And this name depended upon the guild to which he, in theory, belonged. According to Bayezid, all humanity was divided into professions. His were lamp makers. Some members were the makers, others sold lamps. Some were known as this kind of lamp, some another. Lamp of the darkness was a typical example. Among the other guilds noted are those of the builders. Does that sound familiar? Soldiers, merchants of various kinds, and scribes. They can be found today in organizations such as the American Medical Association or the American Bar Association, etc., etc. Writing in the 19th century, an Afghan scholar who was by no means fond of the Society of the Roshaniya claimed that they were, in fact, an organization devoted to fighting against the tyranny of the Moguls, and that the banditry and strange doctrines attributed to them were untrue, allegations by interested parties. He based this upon 2 manuscript copies of the objectives of the order, which seem to have stated that it was dedicated to influencing people of importance throughout the East and West towards greater justice and self-training into the immense capacities of the human mind, whereby wonders can be caused and through which the harmony of the world will be established. Now, these ideas are taken from those enshrined in our ancient literature and practices, as well as those of the Persians, many of whom followed the true illuminated path before the new message was revealed, they stated. In the end, the imperial Mogul decided that something must be done about the widespread power of the militant mystics of the Hindu Kush Mountains. The governor of Kabul arrested Bayezid, clapped him in irons, and paraded him through the streets to show that here was no supernatural being, To give further point to the proceedings, his hair and beard were half shaved. But this governor, Moshin Khan, was under the ascendancy of his religious guide, one Sheikh Atari, who may even have been a secret adherent of the Illuminated One, for the cult was spreading with rapidity. In any case, he told the governor that Bayezid was undoubtedly a man of great and holy attainments, and that considerable suffering would inevitably attend anyone who treated this man harshly. Bayezid was allowed to escape. The indignities to which he had been subjected kindled his Illuminism still higher. Calling his numerous companions, he retired to tribal Tehra, where he set up a military and court atmosphere which is still remembered for its glamour, fervor, and mystery. India and Persia were to be overcome by force of arms, he announced. To that end, many more were to be enrolled into the ranks of the Illuminated. Enthusiastic scenes throughout Afghanistan resulted from the proclamation, which was carried far and wide to the accompaniment of kettle drums, wild sword dances. And when he was ready, Bayezid, attended by his halqa, or circle of dervishes, led the campaign into the lush land of India. Intercepted by the Moshin Khan, whom he had earlier escaped, he was wounded, put to flight, and he eventually died as a result of this encounter. His son, Omar Ansari, proclaimed himself leader and immediately ordered an attack upon the Pathan tribe of the Yusufzai, who had allied themselves with the Mughal. He was killed by the hillman, and his own son, quote, the servant of the one, unquote, took over the leadership. And by the middle of the 17th century, this youth had been killed defending his castle against a Mughal expeditionary force. His infant son escaped with some of his followers into Afghanistan proper, where the cult was restarted. The descendants of this Abdul Qidar, servant of the powerful, continued to rule the fanatics and to send their teachers far and wide. The creed eventually split into two divisions, the military and the religious. And nowadays it is only the followers of the latter who survive, still a secret cult which might, given the right conditions, have touched off a movement as important as that of the assassins. Now, 40 years after the last religio-military leader of the Afghan Illuminated Ones died, a society of the same name, the Illuminati, came into being in Germany, formed, it is said, by Adam Weishaupt. The young Jesuit priest, a professor of canon law at the Jesuit Ingolstadt University. Coincidences of date and beliefs connect these Bavarian Illuminati with the Afghan ones, and also with the other cults which called themselves Illuminated. In actual fact, they are all the same. The beginning of the 17th century saw the foundation of the Illuminated Ones of Spain, the Alumbrados, condemned in an edict of the Grand Inquisition in 1623. Out of which the condemned Ignatius Loyola emerged as a man immune to prosecution, arrest, or accusation from any king, prince, or prelate, as the head of one of the most powerful secret societies ever organized, the Society of Jesus, now known as the Jesuits. Ignatius Loyola had been the leader of the Alumbrados in Spain, and it was his sect, the Illuminated Ones, or the Alumbrados, which became the Society of Jesus. In 1654, the Illuminated Guernets came into public notice in France. Now, documents still extant show several points of resemblance between the German and Central Asian Illuminists, points which are hard to account for on the grounds of pure coincidence, and yet which still might, one supposes, be nothing more than that. The Prophet Muhammad, for example, is claimed as an initiate by the Western Illuminati. Their calendar is the very same which survived in current usage in the former Iranian territories among the Afghans of the time. New Year's Day with them was the same day as the Persian and Afghan Navroz festival. Further, the degrees of initiation, although seemingly artificial ones, coupled with some of the degrees of Freemasonry, were also 8. And there are parallels in the naming of the individual degrees. Like the Roshaniya, the Illuminati stated that they had the objective of gaining important converts for the purpose of improving the state of the world. A comparison of the degrees shows the similarity. In the Roshaniya, the seeker, and in the Illuminati, the apprentice. In the Roshaniya, the disciple; in the Illuminati, the fellow craft. In the Roshaniya, the devotee; in the Illuminati, the master. In the Roshaniya, the enlightened one; in the Illuminati, the Illuminatus major. In the Roshaniya, the master; in the Illuminati, the Illuminatus dirigens. In the Roshaniya, the commander or emir; and in the Illuminati, prince. In the Roshaniya, priest; in the Illuminati, priest. In the Roshaniya, king or chief; in the Illuminati, king. Now, the early stages of initiation were designed to admit people into the brotherhood, to test them for reliability, and possibly to train them for responsible tasks connected with the greater diffusion of knowledge. Even in higher degrees, it seems that tests are also applied. Those who were to become priests, for example, were taken to a secret place where a throne stood, with before it the choice of priestly or royal regalia. The aspirant had to make the choice. Those who opted for the symbols of worldly power were dismissed promptly, but candidates taking up the sacred vestments were saluted with the phrase, "Hail, O Holy One." The members of this degree were considered teachers in whose hands was the training of disciples. Priests identified themselves with a secret sign. Both hands crossed were placed flat upon the head. In shaking hands, the priest extended his palm with the thumb held vertically upwards. The countersign was a fist with the thumb enclosed within it. Princes were those who could influence events at a very high level, either in academic or political affairs. The room in which the initiation to this high and secret degree was celebrated was hung with red. The garments which the prince was to wear were red and white. Now these are, of course, the colors of the Ishmaelis as well. In the ritual, the candidate is presented as a slave and states that he wants to liberate society from tyranny. The sign of the degree was the extending of both arms. As the countersign, before taking the hand of another, the prince gripped both his elbows. In 1786, a raid upon the house of an influential lawyer, Zwack, revealed secret papers connected with the order. And it is through those that many of the inner workings of the organization became known. Men were to be influenced through their women folk, and a large-scale plan for initiating women members was at an advanced stage of development. It has been widely claimed and touted that many of the charges which were made against the German Illuminati were false, and that the possession of instructions, for instance, on forging seals, was due to the fact that the lawyer Zwack had a collection devoted to that subject, as a matter of legal interest to him. It is also said that the project of enrolling women and young girls had in actual fact been taken from the aims of a very different society, the Mopses. While this matter still remains open, however, one may as well examine some of the documents which are stated to have belonged to the society. Zwack had written in his own hand a document describing the manufacture of a strong box which would blow up if it were tampered with. He also had a collection of impressions of the seals of several hundred important persons, and the already mentioned data on how to forge or substitute them. These, he stated in a letter of protest, were a part of the exhibits of his criminological collection. The famous memorandum detailing the plan to win over women to the cause comes from papers seized at the home of Baron Bassus, one of the members. The document states that women are the best means of influencing men. They should be enrolled, and into their minds put a hope that they might themselves in time be released from the tyranny of public opinion. Another letter asks how young women can be influenced, since their mothers would not consent to their being placed under the Illuminati for instruction. 5 women were suggested by one member as a start. They were 4 stepdaughters.
Before we get into the women portion, there is a significant amount of distrust between these people.
Yep.
Significant.
Yep.
Like, when joining a group, one of the things that I look for is, do I have to go through significant lengths of drinking
Vetting.
poison or something to not deal with you being, ridiculous?
Mhm.
And there seems to be a pretty consistent basis where these people just don't trust each other at all.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is really, really far back in history too. But yeah, they're all out for themselves. Each one is out for themselves. So they know how they're treating other people and what they're doing. So they expect other people to do the same thing. And it's a
Gotcha.
large group of other people who all are out for themselves. That's why there's those global elite groups. They're all working towards globalism. But once they get there, like I said, they're going to end up having to fight each other to see who comes out on the top, right? Like
Right.
Trump is in a camp and Biden's in a different camp. But like there's some really old school camps that a lot of us don't even know about, and
Right.
they hate each other, but they've had to work together for a very, very long time to get here. And that's right, amazing. There can be only one. So once they succeed with globalism, expect another big smash down, drag out fight, because these world powers will be at each other's throats.
I don't know. I mean, I get it. That just seems like kind of a shit way to have to live life is, like not being able to trust the people that you're supposedly taking over the world with. Like, there's just
Mhm.
no trust at all between them.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and
so
that's the thing too with the mysteries gives them like those who are students, it gives them another layer of secrecy and security, right?
yeah,
So they may claim to be Catholic or Jewish or nothing at all, but whatever they claim to be, they are always in their hearts and in their minds. They are working on this age old plan for total
gotcha.
domination.
God, you said the J word. Oh, geez, gonna come in here.
Oh, for Pete's sakes! I'm sorry, Cheese.
He doesn't feel good. Like,
Aw,
we can't be summoning him today.
aw,
So
you're not feeling good.
yeah. So but yeah, no, there's just an enormous amount of distrust. So it's like,
Yeah. Well, that's why there was. I mean, look at the clash between um, the Democratic camp and the Republican camp. Look at
mhm,
the animosity that they have for one another, and yet they're still able to pass bills limiting what you're allowed to say in the United States of America.
right.
So they hate each other, but they know they're on the same team to a certain extent.
I guess I can't. It's just, is it that good of a team if you have to go through these enormous amounts of trials to? I contend it's not. It's not worth it to me. Like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be like, yeah, this sounds like a great group to join, but I can't trust the guy next to me that I'm relying
Sitting
on
with,
to
yeah,
take over Canada, or to convert Canada, or convert
yeah,
Poland, or you know, um, our plan is contingent on this guy holding up his end of the bargain, but I can't trust him. Like, it seems
well,
to
and
be a bad spot.
that's the thing, though. Um, this plan is much, much bigger than um, the two guys that are fighting for the same thing but on opposite ends. Like
Yeah.
the animosity might be there, but the highest high ups of whatever team they're playing for is they're making sure that they play by the book and keep to the plan. So the animosity is there, but actually, Gemstone's right. He puts it perfectly. It's the same way as the mafia. You never trust those below you because they want your place, and you never trust
Right.
those above you because they're protecting theirs.
Yeah.
So you're in this together to get a certain results, and you got to play nice no matter how much you hate each other.
Yeah. Well, so I'm gonna play kind of devil's advocate. I know it's not the same way, but the church is very secretive as well on stuff and doesn't trust anybody. And obviously, the Vatican, nobody can get in there. It's got to be. I was reading something. It's got to be 75 years, and it's only this person that can get in there to read the books. And I know that your religion doesn't. Or I
No,
don't think your religion is like Catholic through the Vatican, but I'm
no,
saying like there's religious aspects of religious sects that are the same way, that are
yeah,
very
very secretive. Yeah,
right
yeah. Well,
and very
I
untrusting. Yeah.
in my opinion, the Vatican is one of those global elite power groups.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, they've been in on the plan all along, and they're working for it. They're just a different group than, say, throwing it out there, hypothetical, and in Minecraft, a Rothschild, say. That would be a different group,
So
right?
Catholics are dicks if I'm taking notes, correct? Like
Yes.
that's what
Well,
you're saying.
not all of them. And see, and therein lies the issue. That's
I know.
the stumbling block that Cheese and I get on. He says all of them, and I say not all of them. And at the end of the day, it really is semantics
Yeah.
because there's enough evil people working on this same plan, no matter what they choose to call themselves.
Right. And those were not Digger's words. Those were my words. I was just trying to stir. So,
That's that's fine.
but so I don't know. It just again seems like any organization, no matter what it is, if there's that much and the secrecy, I get, like, secrecy, people are gonna protect their thoughts. The part that gets me is they don't trust the next guy, and that's usually not a good sign when you don't trust the guy that you're working with. And how the hell am I supposed to trust you if you don't trust the guy that's helping you get to your goal?
Well, true. They have been working at this for a good long time, though. I'm sure they've all got dirt on each other. I think that's probably why they're at this, uncomfortable truce to meet the end goal first. I think is because they've all been around so long and they've all got dirt on each other that it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Mutually insured destruction. That's the term that I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, these people are definitely mad. That's for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, it was something that has been a common theme, so I thought I'd point it out. But it just
it must be
distrust.
really difficult, like, to keep track of everything. I couldn't do it. I prefer to just take everyone at face value and, change my mind when I'm shown differently.
Yeah.
I couldn't work with a whole bunch of people that I completely distrusted. And I mean, they grow up together, they raise their kids together, they're tight.
Yeah, they're embedded in each other's lives, and to think that it's that crazy. And I understand the cutthroat nature of it. I understand we want to get ahead. I understand all that stuff. Sorry, HT. I was not directed at any specific person, religious group, individual. That was just a general statement. Probably an inappropriate one.
Well, and again, it comes back to it's not everyone in the group. The Vatican for for certain. Yeah, they're very, very powerful and a very, very old group.
Right.
So yeah.
And plus, it's me, so that's gonna count for something. Like,
Well, yeah,
you
you
know, I'm
love
gonna say
anyone who shows
dumb
you
shit.
love too.
So, right, right. So,
As
um,
long as there's cuddles involved, you love them.
exactly, exactly. So we're best friends at that point. So,
Exactly.
um, but yeah, I don't know. I just I wouldn't be involved with an organization like that. Now, um,
Well, just
I'm,
throwing it out there, my the church that I find most closely aligns with my understanding, um, the world church, the people at the top who make the decisions, they're splitting in two.
Mhm.
There's half the group is accepted and signed up for an agreement uh, with the Pope, which is absolutely insane. As a Seventh day Adventist, the Pope is the absolute opposite to what we are told we believe, right? Or what we agree that we believe when we join the group, right?
and this
So,
Pope doesn't seem like a solid dude. Like I've never talked to
no.
anybody that's like, damn, this Pope, he's really my guy. Like that never
I
seems to be it.
distrust all popes, and this guy, because of the position he holds as the first Jesuit, he scares the heck out of me.
Yeah.
You know, he could very well be the one that brings in, like the global Sabbath, or any one of a zillion different weird agreements that like half of my church is agreeing to, or at least the
Right.
elders. It's insane, it's crazy, but that's exactly it. We're at that point where um even the most elect will be deceived, and we're seeing it. So the the Vatican is still pulling power, and they're still growing. And yeah, this group of groups, these people are evil, and I don't see them turning back now. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get more devious, and you know we need to know to watch out for it. I don't know what
Right.
we can do a whole lot about it on the global scheme, but be aware of it in your own life, and protect yourself.
Well, yeah, and the lies, the deception, that stuff's coming. That's coming real soon here.
Well, we're almost to the point where you can't believe your lying eyes will be true.
Right.
We will be looking at stuff that really does look real, and it's
Hmm.
not, but we don't know. We can't tell. We're not there yet, but we're getting there quick.
Yeah.
And at that point, how do you know which history book is telling you the truth or not?
Well, the current ones out aren't. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. That's why I love learning all the history from all over the world, because you can kind of put them in the timelines together, and you can kind of start to see how it works together globally. But most
Yeah.
people don't get a chance to do that.
Right. And we'll see the deception ramp up. And I know we talked about this briefly last week, Kurt. But with AI and the internet and all that, I feel like we're going to see just this flood of information that is going to be incredibly false, and it's going to turn people that once were into, it's going to change minds, and
Yeah.
not in a good way.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm truly concerned about the the election coming up, and everything that's going to happen on that front, because I think it's going to get crazy. Um, I just think it's going to start getting odd. So
Yeah. The digital 9/11.
yeah,
That's a good one, Gemstone.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, at this point, if there's anything important, uh, get yourself a hard copy of it, be it family photos, be it, these videos, or books online. If it's any sort of important, get it off. Get it in a
Yeah.
hard copy form that you can access even without internet, because it's coming.
Because it
It's
might not be
coming
there.
really quick. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
no, I always think it's interesting to see kind of what our progressions are.
mhm.
Um, nothing looks like we're headed in the right direction. Nothing looks like it's going to be fantastic. So
Yeah,
I can see us being deceived heavily in the
yeah. Well,
upcoming.
it
So
it's already happening, and the deceptions will only get better.
yeah,
So
yep, for sure. So all right, we'll continue.
okay.
That's-
Hi, Cool Frog. By the way.
What's up, Frog?
Daughters of one of the Illuminati, who were to be placed in the care of the wife of yet another illuminated one. They, in their turn, would enlarge the society through their friends. It was further mentioned that women are not considered to be really suitable for such an undertaking, because they are, quote, fickle and impatient, unquote.
Hey.
But the order was most sorely hit by the fact that something quite
Can't disagree.
discreditable to the character of the founder was discovered, and it was thought that he might be trying to use the organization for personal reasons. Now, the establishment version goes something like this. Weishaupt, upon the suppression of the order, refused a pension which he was offered after he had been dismissed from his professorial chair. He attributed his downfall to the machinations of the Jesuits, whom he hated, and who had opposed him, as he was not of their number, whereas they considered the university post which he held to be a long-standing prerogative of their own. And nothing could be farther from the truth, for Adam Weishaupt was himself a Jesuit priest, holding a professorial chair at a Jesuit university. Now, he and Zwack were both banished, and little is heard of them thereafter, although there are rumors that they carried on the society respectively in Saxe-Coburg in the Netherlands. Another incident that you will not hear in establishment accounts is the story of the messenger riding from one Bavarian Illuminati lodge to another, who was literally struck by lightning, divine intervention if you will, struck dead from his horse, in his pouch carrying the papers of a secret plan to take over individual nations and ultimately the world, were put into the hands of the Bavarian government. And many of the portions of these papers are almost word for word what later became known as the protocols of the wise men. Illuminism had spread to France.
Oh, he
However,
didn't say the Z word.
some years before its suppression in Germany. Influential personages were
You probably
members,
should have.
many drawn from the ranks of the important Freemasons of Paris. As in the case of the German branch, it was soon alleged that they pursued terrible aims and practiced frightful orgies. An extract from a French book of the 1790s, La Secte des Illuminés, will give a fair idea of this. The huge chateau of Ermenonville near Paris was one of the chief lodges of the Illuminated. It belonged to the Marquis of Girardin, who protected Rousseau and later gave him a tomb on his estate. Saint Germain, the notable impostor, presided over it. He claimed to be 1,000 years old and to be able to make gold. He was said to be immortal, but strangely died in 1784. And even today, some Looney Tune wackos claim that they converse with Saint Germain, who's still alive, walking around in a modern-day suit and tie. Well, on the day of his initiation at the Chateau of Ermenonville, the candidate was conducted through a long, dark passage into an immense hall draped with black. There were faint lamps set around the room. There were men dressed as corpses in shrouds. There was an altar of human skeletons which stood in the center of a large hall. And in the darkness, in the flickering, low lamplight, the priests conducting the initiation resembled ghostly forms moving through the hall, and everywhere there was the stench of some terrible odor. Two men dressed as specters always appeared and tied a pink band or ribbon, which was smeared with blood, around the forehead of the candidate. Upon this was an image of the Lady of Loretto. Does this sound familiar, ladies and gentlemen? A crucifix was placed in his hand, and an amulet hung around his neck. He was asked to remove his clothes, and if he showed any hesitancy, his clothes were removed for him and laid upon a funeral pyre. Crosses of blood were smeared upon his body, and then his genitalia were tied with a ribbon or with string. Then frightening figures, covered with blood and mumbling strange incantations, approached and threw themselves down in prayer. After a long period of time, weeping, crying, wailing broke out as if a herd, a plethora of mourners were bereaved upon the death of their closest and deepest love. The funeral pyre burned brighter and brighter. All of the clothes of the initiate were consumed. And from behind or near this fire, one of the priests emerged almost as if he had taken form from the smoke of the pyre itself. And the five figures went into convulsions, and loud wailing and screaming took place. And then came the voice of someone concealed behind a curtain. These oaths which the candidate had to repeat. Quote, "In the name of the crucified one, I swear to sever all bonds which unite me with mother, brothers, sisters, wife, relatives, friends, mistress, kings, superiors, benefactors, or any other man to whom I have promised faith, service, or obedience." Quote, "I name the place in which I was born. Henceforth I live in another dimension, which I will not reach until I have renounced the evil globe which has been cursed by heaven. From now onwards I shall reveal to my new chief all that I have heard or found out, and I shall also seek out and observe things which might otherwise have escaped me. I honor the aqua tofana. It is a quick and essential medium of removing from the earth, through death or robbing them of their wits, of those who oppose truth and those who try to take it from our hands. I shall avoid Spain, Naples, and all other accursed lands, and I shall avoid the temptation to betray what I have now heard. Lightning will not strike as rapidly as the dagger, which will reach me wherever I may be, should I betray my initiation." Unquote. Then a 7-branched candelabrum bearing 7 black candles was placed before the candidate, and a large bowl containing human blood. The candidate washed himself in the blood and drank a quantity of it. The string around his genitalia was removed, and then he was carried to a bath to undergo complete ablution. After this, he was given a meal composed of root vegetables. Now, folks, while it is possible that such ceremonies as this have actually taken place, and we know that they have, because it is the exact ceremony that George Bush underwent in the crypt, or what is known as the tomb, the Skull and Bones, at Yale University. But it will be recalled that such items as human blood are generally not of the genuine variety in any society other than those reputed to be dedicated to criminal or perverted ends? Well, I have this to say: no one knows but those who actually take part in the ceremony, whether it's chicken blood or human blood or pig blood or cow's blood. And as with the initiations of other societies, there is no doubt that the candidate may have been made to believe that he was actually going through an initiation which involved horrible things of this nature, such as human blood. Initiation into the ancient mysteries was often accompanied by the exposure of the candidate to fear and other emotions in order to make him receptive to the oath or message which was to be made manifest. It has been said, folks, that the European version of the Order of the Illuminati contributed in no small measure to the development of revolutionary doctrines which eventually culminated in the Russian and other communist machines. And in fact, for those of serious study who have perused the depths of the available material, as I and others have no doubt whatsoever that communism, international socialism, is the direct product of the mystery schools of the Illuminati, as was the formation of this nation, which was guaranteed to lead us in to what is known as the New World Order, Novus Ordo Seclorum, the formation of a one-world totalitarian state ruled by benevolent despotism.
I was muted. So this, if you forego the castration portion, and I know that's a big ask, if you forego the castration portion, this sounds an awful lot like body and blood of Christ and so on and so forth. Like, it's not that far off where they're doing this blood ceremony and blah, 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 you know.
It is. It's I don't know. It's all being used in mockery of God. Like everything that is being used, it's being used ironically, I guess, would be the best way for most people to understand it. You know, people who wear the awful band shirts, but it's ironic, so it's actually cool. You know, that's the same thing. They are mimicking symbology and different rites. They're mimicking that so that they to mock it, I guess, is the best way to make fun of it. Yeah, it's if you go back and listen, Linda, it is they're using the symbology, they're just applying it in a much different way. Um, and it's all in order to lower God and raise themselves up.
Okay. Like, so I guess, did it come before or after the religious aspect of it? So, like, which one do you think potentially came first in that?
The symbology or the ritual?
Like the ritual. Did the ritual come after the religious portion of it? So you say it's mocking, so that would say that it came after God and after, you know, all the religious symbolism came, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of like, as an example, early Catholics, they started to adopt pagan rituals because it made the Catholic religion and God more appealing to the pagan masses. So it's similar to that. These are all symbols and rituals that these people way back, like thousands of years, they were born and raised on. Daily sacrifices happened. These, and I'm talking about the Rosh Hashanah specifically. They're still way far back in time, and sacrifice is still a daily occurrence. So they would recognize the symbology and the rituals from their religious upbringing. But as they get introduced into the mysteries, they would start to see the same things being misused.
Okay.
Yeah. And that way, again, it makes it easier and more palatable for the newcomers to understand what they mean if they already know what the symbol means from elsewhere.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Huh. Yeah, it's just it's an interesting thought process to see which direction it's coming from, you know.
Hmm.
And kind of which one came first.
Well, I think they
So
probably came up quite along the same lines. You know, I think for as long as there's been a divide in humanity on the earth, there's been two different major forms of religion, which then split into zillions of different denominations and belief systems and slightly different ways of worship. And um, but they both happen together. Remember, the devil and a third of his angels were already on earth before Adam and Eve got kicked out of the garden and sent here.
yeah.
From a Christian point of view, from a one God, but a Trinity perspective. And AP, you're right. Christianity uses pagan symbolism just as much as the Catholics do. It's not a specifically Catholic thing. You're right. um, but yeah, it's a lot easier to teach people things when they already recognize and feel somewhat comfortable with the symbology and the rituals. You know, they've grown up and seen it every day, all their
Okay.
lives. So,
All right.
hmm
Yeah. No. And I think that there's some. I don't know. So, I guess the timeline and a certain man's going to be really upset with me, but the timeline, I'm not like I've never been sure on the timeline of how everything kind of went down. So, um, I wish that I knew that a little bit better. The whole timeline of events, how
oh, like
religion
from
is.
Genesis, how the devil fought and took the angels and all of that. Is that
Yeah,
what you're talking
just
about? Okay.
yeah. I'm just talking about generally the entire thing because um, I don't know. It seems like it doesn't seem like it was quite long enough for, but I guess that's part of the whole thing is that not as long as it's not as long as one would think. Like we're closer to it than we are away from it. So
Yeah. Well, in general, I believe in general belief system for those who follow the Trinity, the one God in three persons. I'm fairly certain creationists. There we go. I believe creationists believe that the world is actually not more than 10, 15,000 years old.
okay,
Um, but then now that I've done some studying on it, the devil and a third of the angels would have been sent to the earth long before Adam and Eve were in the garden. So before, because he had to come back up to lie to her and get her to eat the apple, right? So where
okay,
was he? Where was he coming from? The divide had already happened in heaven.
gotcha. Okay,
Yeah. So that's my understanding.
okay, huh? All right.
Linda says there's a book you can read about that.
She had a good one last night too. So she's right on
She's on the
par
ball.
for putting me in my place recently. So um no, I mean maybe I don't know. I'm not much of a reader, but
Well, yeah, it took me, I mean, it was only a year or two ago that I found out that the Noah Ark story, if you read the Bible, he was told to take two of every unclean animal or was it two of every clean animal and seven of every unclean animal, or have I reversed that? Linda, I'm hoping that you can get in. I'm pretty sure it was two of every clean animal and seven of every unclean animal onto the ark.
okay.
So it was even more than just two by two by two of everything. So
Huh.
yeah, which I had no idea.
Around 6,000 years or so. Yeah, but
Mhm.
that I mean that doesn't seem like a very long time. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I don't
I
know.
would
That's
go roughly around 10, but that's only because you've got to think how old the our ancestors were, like when they died. They were living hundreds or thousands of years. So
see.
um
One of my favorite Brits says, I think he says 5,000 years or 5,500.
mhm.
Um, so I mean, I wouldn't trust anything that guy says, but
Well, yeah.
um, you know,
He's a Brit. I mean,
right,
geez.
right. That'd be like trusting Dazer. Why would somebody do that?
I know.
Uh, so, but but I don't I don't know that the Earth is um as old as people say it is, but I don't think it's. I think it's definitely more than 5, 8, 10,000 years old.
Hmm.
So, um, but it might not be.
Okay, Linda doesn't remember which way it was either, but Sunday was the anniversary of the flood, according to Genesis in the creation calendar.
Okay.
So that's interesting. I did not know that.
Huh.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda. Oh, and HT says there's an app that you can get that'll help you to read that book in a year. Throwing it out
Wow.
there.
I listen. When I finish my Russian courses, then I'll think about it.
Okay.
But until then, like I am focused on being able to talk to D's, and that's my primary goal in life. So
Nice. Nice.
one
Yeah,
day.
AP says Lucifer fell when man was created and became God's chosen kind. That's kind of my understanding is the fight, the war in heaven was happening as he was creating, because he and a third of the angels were sent down to the earth. So the earth would have been created. So it it must have been happening while he was creating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
And that's what again, like 5,500, maybe 6,000 years.
Roughly, like I said, I think I would peg it more at the 10,000.
Okay.
No more than 10,000, but not a whole lot less either, you know.
Hmm.
But that's just my guess, and my math sucks. But I know for a fact it's a hell of a lot younger than evolutionists want to believe.
Okay. Evolutionist or just I mean, we could go around for 16 hours on this one, but or just the science mind in general.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I guess it at one point it would have been the evolutionists versus the creationists, but in this day and age, there's not a whole lot of creationists per se, you know, or at least
Yeah.
that's not what's being taught in schools.
Right.
Evolution is a fact, and there's no question mark around it as far as education systems
Yeah.
are saying. So yeah,
No, I think it's always healthy to question just about anything. Like I don't think I've ever been like, nope, this is the way it is. Like deal with it. Um because I don't feel like that helps the conversation at all. I think people have their own beliefs, and you gotta first you have to do this odd thing that people lost track of, trying to convince somebody of your idea, and
Yeah.
then you have
Then you
to
have to test the idea
right
and test it
weird
rigidly. Very, you got to make sure, and that's what I love about the discussions that I get to have online is people who disagree with me. It strengthens my faith in what I believe because I have to go and defend it, which means I have to do research to make sure that what I'm what I'm saying I believe is actually correct. I
yeah
don't want to be a parrot. I want to make sure
right
that what I say is what I actually believe. And that too is a skill that is not well known these days.
right and then go out and I say this, but try and convince people of it. Don't you can't just shove it in their face and say believe it, or
This is it. Yeah.
you hate God or whatever. Like you have to go out and convince. Like I've had some good conversation. Like for me to be where I'm at, to even like put any forethought into what's going on is an amazing uh distance that I've traveled, and that's okay because I'm always for if there's a better way or something I'm missing or a different way to do things, then I'm all for it. But um yeah,
Well, that's the
I,
scientist in you is the fact that you're used to and um, you almost need to test a theory
yeah,
to prove it
uh,
to yourself. That's part of what makes you a great scientist is that
mhm,
curiosity and that tenacity to take it to its end.
yeah. And I mean the other thing is you get people that get so like again, and this goes back to the other one, that your idea is probably not fantastic if the only thing you can do when I question any portion of it is get super defensive and call me names and like, you know, it's the liberal argument. Like just get defensive and call people names.
Yeah,
And
there's no proving uh, standing on your beliefs and proving your belief. They're just call you names and point fingers and yell and scream if they make enough noise. What was it? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. And that's
mhm,
exactly it. They learned that very well. And they know if they yell and scream and holler long enough, people are just going to get tired
right.
and just whatever. And unfortunately, that's gotten us where we are now. But I do appreciate seeing more and more people waking up.
Yeah.
I've been here for a while, and sometimes I might be a bit jaded, and it's really nice to see all these people across the world waking up.
Yeah. If you're jaded, we're all fucked because we're there. There are several of us that are significantly more jaded than you could ever be. Um, so just for the record, if
All
you're
right.
jaded,
Okay.
I give up at this thing they call life. If you're jaded,
Yeah, jaded may not be the perfect term, but yeah, I see it and I know what's going on and I see the signs of it happening all the time. So I guess I got used to it is
Mhm.
more the thing. I'm used
Yeah,
to it. But seeing people waking up and going, but wait a minute, that makes no sense. What the heck? That
right.
is cool for me. I'm really enjoying seeing that.
Yeah,
Because now I'm not feeling like the kid in the Emperor's New Clothes, the kid that had the only person who had the guts to say, "Hey, the king's naked. He's walking down the street naked." You
mm.
know, because that was me for the longest time, and more people are finally going, "Oh, hey, I see that too."
right, right. I mean, it's always good to question it. It's always good to get more information, and just because you're saying something about something doesn't mean that you're rejecting it outright. It just means maybe it needs just a little bit more information
Hmm.
to get there, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, um, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. All right, I think we have a little bit left.
All right.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there, Shenny. It's a good reminder. We've got it pinned up at the top there. We've got the donation link to help Fiery, and this Saturday starting at 1:30 p.m. PST, 4:30 p.m. EST. You people over in the UK, you can figure it out for yourselves because I can't do the math. Come join us for 10 hours of fun.
4:30 my time, so it's
Yeah.
9:30. It's 9:30 Brit time.
Okay.
So.
Oh, and AP, there is a beetle. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but it creates a really awful gas that burns to such a high temp. It'll burn anything, but it developed with two parts of their body, two sacs that keep the two ingredients separate right up until the minute they release it, at which point it mixes. And there's no way that it could evolve over time because it would have killed itself off too many times in the evolution of it.
Huh.
Yeah. It's a beetle. It's got two separate sacs with very, very dangerous chemicals in it, but they're safe until they mix, and they mix right as it's shooting it out. And scorch beetle, thank you. Yes, there you go. It's an amazing beetle, but there's no way that thing could have evolved to what it is.
Huh.
It would have died. It would have killed itself off long before it made it there.
And that's, sorry, I'm not 100% following. And that's proof that we're not as old. Or?
Well, no, but it's proof to me that evolution doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, AP, it melts steel. The concoction, once it mixes, it'll melt steel.
Huh.
Yeah, it's insane. And animals like that, like he's named a couple, Thiocene. There was another one that he mentioned, but these are animals that, if evolution was the truth, there's no way they could have evolved into that in time. Its body would not have survived evolving to the point where they're at now. So yeah. To me, it proves that evolution is a theory.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Evolution is there. Yeah. I mean, I could be convinced. I don't know that I am, but I could be at some point. Possibly.
Well, and that's what makes you the scientist. You're not sure, but you're going to test the theory.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll kick the tires. We'll give it a go. We'll see what happens. But so, all right. Well, let's finish up this last. I think we have like 9 minutes. So,
is the way that they put it. And there is little doubt that the order was dedicated to the overcoming of princely power, as it was then known, and to the diffusion of anti-religious ideas. And this can best be seen by examining the development of the teachings of the member as he progressed from one degree of initiation into the next. Now, folks, many young enthusiasts with a taste for mystery and a desire to fight oppression in any form were drawn through a deliberate plan from the ranks of all of the colleges and universities and from all of the other supposedly benevolent fraternal organizations. After an oath of obedience and silence had been extracted from the candidate, he was then handed over to a director or teacher, or, if you will, hierophant, to be taught that the order was one of discipline and effort, and that the final objectives were to do good through leaving aside all preconceived notions, and upon the basis of free thought, to lead mankind to salvation. But salvation granted by who? And salvation from what? That is the question that intelligent men should be asking. However, it's been my experience that most men and most women don't ask any questions whatsoever, or very few anyway. Those who managed to show that they were likely to accept the next stage in teaching were advanced to the rank in which he was made to swear that he would work under the orders of his masters without doubt or question. He would not use his critical faculties in any way, in any matter connected with such instructions. Now, in the lower ranks are the nursery for all you Blue Lodge Master Masons out there who think you know so much and are nothing more than the greatest group of followers ever conceived and let loose upon humanity. Yes, in the nursery, the member was very much in the dark as to the way in which the order was run and how it should accomplish its design of freeing the world. As he progressed, however, he found that a part of his service to the society was to gain financial and social power and to place them at the disposal of the group. Indeed, he was expected to be a diligent Mason and to try to gain control over Freemason funds. It was not until the 10th rite of promotion had been completed that the member was given, with the grade of priest, certain definite knowledge. And now today, in the order known as the Scottish Rite, this information is not given until the candidate actually reaches the 30th degree, according to the actual writings of the man who was the Grand Commander of all Freemasonry of the world and of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry in the United States, Mr. Pike, General Pike. Well, this knowledge included the fact that the Illuminati were proposing to destroy princes and prelates throughout the world and were to remove forever the feeling of local nationality from the minds of men.
Sound familiar?
Another goal was to destroy all existing religions.
Happening now.
The ways in which this was to be done involved infiltrating high positions in education, administration of government, the military, and, of course, the press. The very highest degrees showed that the rationalism and materialism of the thinkers who developed it were determined to stamp out all belief in religion, God, and any faith in a deity. The initiate was told were human inventions, and they had no meaning whatsoever. Now, this was developed further, and the member who arrived at the highest position in the order, or that designated as Rex or King, learned that he was now the same as any king, on the same level, with the same rights and the same divine right of rule, and that all men were capable of equal advancement. But all men were not equal. Hence the need for kings over man was an illusion perpetrated by those in power, and this perpetration was to be broken at all costs. And the highest, or the man who sat at the head of the council of hidden supervisors, made up of 9 members, was designated as Rex Mundi, or literally translated, King of the World. In their machinations to overthrow, topple the kings and queens of all of the countries of the world from their thrones, they established the United States of America in the English colonies in the New World, and its ultimate goal, its secret destiny, was to be the catalyst to bring into the world what they called the Great Society or the New World Order. And it certainly worked, dear listeners. As you can look back through history, the granting of the common man of liberty, fraternity, equality, freedom that he had never tasted or known before in history lit the spark that then ignited the French Revolution, of course, with the leadership and the manipulation of the people of the Illuminati, the lodges of Freemasonry, the Ancient Order of the Rose and Cross, and others at the highest level were all the same, with the same goals. And this spark of revolution spread throughout the world, and until we all grow up and learn how to stop this, it will continue. As the secret societies propel us, manipulate us, deceive us, lie, operating in secret, infiltrating everything decent and good that man has ever built, destroying it from within, bringing closer and closer their goal of what they believe to be a utopia on earth, a one world totalitarian socialist order. They hope to create the world where they will rule as being the ones who possess the only truly mature minds. They will establish a council of advisors to a world charismatic political and religious leader who will be the outward rule. But he will really take his orders from this benevolent despotism, this council of learned elders, and everyone on the face of this earth will be under total control for every 24-hour period of their lives. There will be one world religion catering to the needs of man, not man obeying the laws of any god. The general rule will be, as has been touted many, many times by these people, do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And even murder will be considered to be a learning experience, provided that the perpetrator actually learns something. People who exhibit violent tendencies as a matter of normal behavior on their part will simply be eliminated. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this is beginning to come together and make sense to you. If it doesn't, as yet, we have a long, long way to go, as you have probably already begun to understand.
Oops, I had to unmute. So, I mean,
sounds an awful lot like our world as it is today, eh?
well, there seems to be a lot of commonalities. That's for
Yep.
sure. And I think we're headed further and further down that track where it's going to be unreversible and unavoidable. And I think that we have some good guys around, but I don't know that we have enough.
Well, we shall see. I know that it's going to get worse. I know it's going to get a lot worse. Like I've said before, I guess I'm kind of lucky because I know that no matter how bad it gets, I know that good wins at the end.
Mhm.
So at least I've got that to look forward to, even if not in this life. I do want to say a couple of things. Hello there, 1234 over on Rumble. Hello there.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We love learning the truth too. So that's what we do here. That's what Mighty does. We look into things that are interesting, and just ask questions. So welcome. Hope you come back again. And then as to, I think it was AP, where is it? I think evolution as a theory might be on the right track, but it's too short in time frame unless someone is manipulating some stuff. See, and that's where I'm at as well. I think I'm of the opinion that creation happened, but that evolution is a thing, and things will adapt over time to various different environments. So I do believe that evolution is a thing. It does exist. Things do evolve, but I don't think things all came from that single glop of goop and turned into all these different things. I think we had all of these different animals and us humans and the planet and the earth and everything. I think that had to be created first, and then over time with wear and tear, it's evolved.
Okay. I think like everything else, it's probably some of A and some of B. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not convinced on anything concrete just yet. Um, but but I lean towards it's got to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we arrive at something that maybe makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
It gets close.
yeah. Because I don't know, I have a hard time buying into either side of it. Just wholesale. Uh,
Hmm.
I and I don't know. And again, I mean, until that British guy kind of challenged my thought, because I've always been a sim theory guy, and that's why we can't figure it out because we don't have all the variables. Um,
Gotcha.
and sim theory is kind of just like believing in God, just different creator of the simulation or universe. And I know he
Okay.
was just saying that to, the different creator. Like
Hmm.
I get how that guy talks. Like don't get me wrong. Like, um, there was intention behind his words, but it did make me think about it. And
Hmm.
it, I mean, they're not completely different. I mean, they're pretty close. So
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, both theories still involve something that has complete and total control over the world.
hmm
So, whether it's some dude sitting and eating Doritos while playing video games in his parents' basement,
yeah,
or whether it's, the one of the hundreds of gods that are worshipped on earth in this day and age.
yeah,
There's who knows, but I really like Hello There's the way they put it. I thought adaptation was what I was taught. Apparently, her or their teachers were incognito. Um, that
mm,
makes sense. Adaptation. That is a good way to put it. Things were created, but then they've had to adapt in the time since.
A- and I can see a case for that. I think that,
I like adaptation instead of evolution, like the Big Bang Theory.
yeah. Um, I think there's a pretty high degree of likelihood that at least some things evolve, because we can. I mean, we can see that categorically. Like
Oh yeah.
that's true. Things do evolve and things do adapt and change and become better suited for their environment, which is kind of the baseline for the whole thing.
Hmm.
But I I I don't know that it was primordial soup on a planet and
Yeah.
it's the right temperature for the amino acids to form. Like I don't know if I buy that either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know what I believe, and that's okay. It's okay to say I don't know.
Well, and yeah, and that's the fun part too is not knowing and going out there and trying to figure it out.
hmm
That's what life is. That's what humanity's about, I believe, is learning.
Right.
Going out there and of course, be the best person you can be and um, help people and all of that. But we're also here to learn to do better and to be better and to think better.
Right.
There's a reason God or the guy in the basement gave us curiosity. You know, we would not have been able to evolve as much as humans have if not for our curiosity.
hmm I don't know why some people are more curious than others, and I mean that partially as a joke and partially as a real statement.
Hmm.
But some people just are incredibly curious. Um, Myself included. Like I want to know how it works. I'll tear something apart to see how it works. It's just
Yeah, I love knowing why.
yeah. And if I can't figure out why, then how can I figure out why? And then what can I do to build it again? And then what can I do to build it better? And that's just me being the psychopath that I am. But that's kind of how I go through it. So, um, but no, I mean, I think, and I I don't. One thing that I do know, and that I have got overwhelming from a religion, is before talking to you and a couple others, is trying to figure out why, trying to figure this out has always been met with significant resistance. And I go back to the previous statement of I don't know how sincere you're being if you're challenging me looking for more answers. And that's again what I've always gotten out of religion is,
Mhm.
you're supposed to believe. Well,
Yeah,
I don't. So
you
like,
do.
convince me.
You do have to takes it on faith, um, to a certain extent, but yeah, that's the great thing about the Bible is it has been tested and it will be tested again. And you could sit down and start reading today and test it all yourself. And time after time after time, the prophecies of the Old Testament, the prophecies that were clarified and expounded upon in the New Testament, they have come true. And if all of the old prophecies have come true, why would we decide that the future prophecies won't?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's the big thing. Is that's what the Bible says itself. You cannot take something as truth to yourself unless it has been proven by two or three witnesses. So you need
Okay.
to find evidence of a thing from different sources before you can, really be sure that it is a truth or not. And so far, the prophecies of the Old Testament have been fulfilled. There's a little bit of argument as to who fulfilled what part and um, where exactly we are on that line. But overall, you can see that the prophecies have come true. The prophecies come true, and you cannot fit the prophecy to history. History fits to the prophecy, right?
Okay.
The prophecy was written long. There was Cyrus, I believe, was the king's name. Cyrus was mentioned in prophecy 500 years or 150 years before he was even born.
Okay.
But the prophet Isaiah, I believe it was Isaiah, it might have been Jeremiah, but I'm pretty sure it was Isaiah. He actually prophesied that this king would come, that he would take control of Jerusalem. He would allow the Jews to go back and rebuild the temple. And the prophet named him by name
Hmm.
years before, and it happened. It all happened exactly as he said. And King Cyrus, the name was there. That's how he proved it to the king in the first place, was saying, well, hey, wait, our God told us to look for you, and here you are. Look, in the Old Testament, in the Holy Scriptures, here's your name. This is what it says about you.
Hmm.
So that's pretty awesome. And that's just one. There are so many. And there are prophecies that are still coming true. And there are some prophecies that are layered. They have um, they have different ending points depending on a part of the prophecy. So it's really cool from our perspective at the end of time as opposed to the beginning of time. We've got all this proof to see.
Yeah.
We don't have to just believe for believing's sake. We have the proof if we want to look for it.
I th- I think you guys have a terrible PR person as the church, just for
Yes.
the record. Like,
Well, and
as
the
religion.
students of the mysteries, they've got into all religions.
Mhm.
They've gotten into all politics and all corporations. They have poisoned the well, so to speak. So a lot of people may not. A lot of people have been deceived, and we're at the end days where it even says even the most elite will be deceived.
Yeah.
So, we're we just really have to make sure that what we're listening to, um, thank you. Hello there. um, yeah, we just have to make sure that we understand what it is we're believing in. Um, that's the best we can do as humans these days, you know?
So I'm screwed. I still don't know. Um,
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. None of us will really know for sure until the end comes in whichever way it comes.
yeah.
Right? Whether it's climate change that's going to cause the earth to set itself on fire or something, or whether it's Jesus and his second coming, whether it's Lucifer and his third of the angels taking over. It has to end at some point. It might be a big rock coming and hitting us from outer space. Something ends it. There is always an end to everything. And at that point, we'll all find out who was right and who was wrong. So in the meantime, the best we can do is question things and prove things out for ourselves to the best of our ability and be kind to each other. Be
Yes.
especially kind to the people you don't like. That's a part that a lot of people forget. It's so easy to be kind to the people we love and care about. It's so much harder to be kind and love the people that we dislike. You
Yeah.
know, I really dislike Turdo. I really, really dislike the man, but I pray for him, and I pray for blessings for him because it's hard to do, but it's necessary. You know, the worst people are the ones that need the most help and blessings.
Yeah. Well, that's why Linda prays for me so much. And good
Well,
news.
yeah. I
you
pray
know.
for your hand
Oh,
specifically, that it might never fail you.
okay. And I had a point there, and I completely lost it. Oh, I believe in the God narrative more than I do climate change. So there's a
Oh
plus
yeah.
too.
Yeah. Well, anything. I mean, I'm a bit older than you, but anyone who is in their 40s and older have lived long enough to have seen that climate change is a fallacy, as
Yeah.
they like to put it. The climate changes. It always changes. It always has. It always will. We rotate around different things. It's going to change, but
Mhm.
it's not the end of the world as they like to have us think.
Right. Right. And that's for sure. Like there's still a lot of world left.
Yes.
It's not gonna nothing we've done or could ever do is gonna have that big of an impact on it. So yeah.
AP says, as long as the rock hits me first, I'm okay with the big rock. AP, there's some things in prophecy that made me think that perhaps the big rock was actually going to be a literal ending of this world. So
2029.
you never know.
Apophis.
Oh, that's right. May 29. Oh, and apparently, according to some theories, the world will end on May 13th or 18th. Gosh, dyslexia sucks. But watch out on the 13th and the 18th, because according to The Simpsons, one of those 2 days this year is the one that ends the world. So, be aware. And apparently, Prince William is secretly the child of the most powerful family on earth. Name starts with an R. And I just learned this theory, but it would fit right into the Simpsons prophecy.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting how the Simpsons are so damn good at predicting
They
everything.
are so good.
It's
It's scary.
It's definitely they have some kind of an inside track because you don't get it any other way. So
There you go. Mount St. Helens' anniversary. It's May 18th, 1980 was Mount St. Helens. May 18th
wow.
this year. is what the Simpsons have been calling out. So,
Huh.
yeah, all sorts of weird stuff. And then we had the eclipse and CERN's doing their thing. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff revolving around the 18th.
Okay.
So, yeah, just maybe take an umbrella that day if you have to go out.
Yeah, for sure.
And a towel. Take a towel. Oh, wow, amazing. You were actually there when it happened in Washington State. That's cool.
Wow.
That's really cool. I had
That would
some
have been
ash in a vial once. I don't know where it went to, but I had some once.
huh. That would have been cool to. I mean, obviously not cool to be around, like to live
But
through, but
to experience, yeah.
right. Yeah, you know what I meant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, volcanoes are. I've been to a couple that, they're neat. There's so much power, raw power there. So
Yeah. I used to think they were super cool. And then I started to get older and I realized that there was a lot more to them than I first thought. And then I saw the rituals that they performed and I was like, okay, this is not safe at all.
yeah, but
Oh yeah,
right.
John Lennon
Yep,
died as
right.
well on the 18th of May. That
Oh,
was
really?
tied into it as well. Yeah, Lennon and his death.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But Mount Rainier would have erupted. I would have had a good view. Huh. That's cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd be able to see that one for sure too.
That's neat. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go watch
Yes.
the hockey game because my
It's
team's in the second round.
and yes, it has been a lovely evening, but hockey, hockey, hockey.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. It's
your
time
team
for
made it to
Mr.
the second
Stanley.
round, I think, too. So
Who did?
I think Vancouver did, didn't they?
I think they did. I think the Oilers still have a game. I think.
No, Oilers are in
No?
too. I
Oh,
think you
they
got
are in.
start
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Good. Then hey, it's been 50 years or something since a Canadian team made it into the Stanley Cup Finals.
well, you got
So we got two of them this year.
you got two left. So
Yeah,
still
crossing
25%.
fingers, no jinxing.
I don't have high hopes, but potentially, possibly. So they got to get rid of. We got get by my team.
Yes.
Obviously, nobody wants that. So, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you as always. And until next time, I hope you all have a good night.
Bye.